right, Aztec football gears up for a trip to the Aloha State. Games getting bigger as the Mountain West Conference regular season plays out, with the Aztecs on top at this point, undefeated, 4-0. This one's against a dangerous bowl-eligible Hawaii team that's smarting from a loss at San Jose State. They have a sold-out crowd. They're electrified by a big-armed sophomore quarterback, Steve Perez, Louis Weiner. Aztecs all in here. There's lots in this one, leading off with the football. But Louis, men's basketball officially getting underway, and we will talk more about that later after getting into yet another key game for Aztecs football, right?
Yes, Steve. It was a fun game last night against Long Beach State. The Aztecs really all over Long Beach State. We'll talk about that, about the Aztecs' depth. And we'll also hear from Stacie Terry-Hutson, the head coach of the women's hoops team.
Okay, so the Aztecs and the University of Hawaii gearing up again. I guess it's the 40th matchup overall. Aztecs have gotten the better of this one over time, and they have played well in the islands as well. And they also this week announced a home-and-home football series for the 2028 and 2029 seasons. Before we move on into more about the Hawaii game itself, let's take a step back and discuss something that was said after the Wyoming game, where the Aztecs won that one 24-7 in a pretty convincing fashion. Did you catch any of that chatter post-game, Louis?
Yeah, you're talking about the Wyoming coach who had some comments about the fans in the stands, or in his case, the lack of fans in the stands. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. He had a wisecrack, Jay Sauvel, saying that a game like Saturday night makes you appreciate being at Wyoming. In one sense, he said it was a beautiful stadium. They have a really good team. And then the wisecrack came out. They had a promotion the other night where you come dressed as an empty seat because there was nobody there. And the reported announced attendance was 24,000, and it looked a lot less than that to our view from the press box. So what do you think about that dig, Louis?
Well, I think it's a dig. I think he needs to stick to what he's in, Wyoming football. Nice praising the stadium, but he didn't need to mention the fans. How many head coaches go to the opposing field and talk about how many fans? It's just not something they should be talking about or even worrying about. So I thought it was uncalled for.
Well, maybe he was also trying to take the spotlight off of his team's performance in that one when the offense was limited to 185 yards on the night, and that's the take from 72020sports.com, which reports on all things at that altitude in Wyoming. And the Aztecs gave up that first score. It was a 3-yard touchdown pass that went from Landon Sims to Sam Scott, but that was the last time they got on the scoreboard. And my only overall take on that is I think that he was also trying to talk to potential recruits. The Aztecs had a pretty sizable contingent of recruits on their sideline. I think it's might be a little bit tougher sell getting somebody from California to go to Wyoming and play their football in Laramie. And he was trying to say, hey, see, you want to come to someplace like Laramie where people really appreciate where you are going through to gear up and play the game, or, and stay here in San Diego. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that he was trying to achieve in that. So did he achieve it or not?
Well, I'm not so sure that that's what it was. I mean, look, there were only about 17,000 people in the stadium, according to Kirk Kenny of the UT, and it was a disappointing crowd. It was a disappointing student crowd as well, not as many that have been there. So we've talked about this over the past couple of years, that fans aren't showing up to the stadium, and that's one thing. And for him to praise the stadium, that's great. But for him to mention the crowds, I just thought, that was uncalled for and just something that he didn't need to do.
The last take is yes, there is a pricing supply and demand issue with the ticket pricing, and that's something that the people that are well above the pay grade of the people who are handling the football team are responsible for. That appears to be something having to do with things that are out of our control and out of the team's control. But what is in the team's control and what they've been doing so far is winning. And if you keep winning like they have been, some of those problems will take care of themselves. So how about this matchup we have coming up, though, with Hawaii coming off a really disappointing loss for them against San Jose State, where there was virtually no defense by either team, and saw some comments from Rich Miano, who's a former player and coach for the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. And they still, though, are keyed up about this game because it's a big one for them. It's in their home. They have a sold-out complex that is on campus. And if they can somehow figure out a way to defeat the Aztecs, even though they are not favored in this one, then things change very rapidly in the Mountain West.
They do, and they run that old run-and-shoot style offense, which you don't see a lot these days. Mouse Davis, the guy who started that, and Timmy Chang, their head coach, used to be their quarterback. He's been with Hawaii for a very long time, and I'll talk about in a few minutes their quarterback, who's been really good the last few days. I'm sorry, I should say the last few weeks, and he's probably been good the last few days as well, Steve. So we'll hear more of that, but it should be a challenge for the Aztecs defense. This team scores a lot of points.
Yes, and meanwhile, the Rainbow Warriors give up a lot of points. This is from Rich Miano, who was appearing on a post-game show at KHON in Honolulu. His take on the San Jose State game, where San Jose State put up 633 total yards, that he thought Hawaii had the better defense, that the D-line of Hawaii was not terrible. The secondary, he said, looked pedestrian no matter what they tried to do, whether playing man, zone, tackling, run support, and they were unable to get any sacks against San Jose State's offensive line, and they are pretty tight with their sacks, only giving up 8 all years. So his other take against them was the best defense is a pass rush, and didn't think the front four got much out of them in that part of the Hawaii defense. So there are opportunities for the Aztecs offense. So why don't we get more into the players and the coach's view of things at this point in their media availability from earlier in the week.
Steve, what would be a dream vacation for most of us is a business trip for the Aztecs football team, traveling to Hawaii to face the Rainbow Warriors Saturday night for a late local kickoff at 8 p.m. Aztecs, 7-1 overall, will try to remain undefeated in conference play. At 4-0, the Aztecs are one of just 12 teams nationwide that remain unbeaten in league play. Now, Steve, you are all too familiar with the beautiful state of Hawaii, but for many of these players, it's the first time they'll visit the islands, and that could pose a problem as far as distractions. Coach Sean Lewis says he is fully aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's a business trip that we get to go on, right? Talk to them about it. It's our job to make them aware of potential distractions, right? And so one of the things that we want to do a great job of, again, is block out the noise and control the things that we can't control, right? Like we're going to be in the heart of it with where every team stays, and obviously with the later kick and when we arrive and all those things. But that's where you got to lean on the mental prep that we've done, obviously the guys being acutely aware of this special opportunity that we have, and all that they have created to protect that with the decisions that they're going to make while we travel to represent their families, our team, and this university the right way, and keep a single-minded focus of why we're going on this trip, right? Like we're going out there to execute, do our jobs, and win a ball game, right? That's the purpose of why we're doing it. And, when we do that at an elite level and these guys go have great success in their lives downrange, then they can go back and do all the great vacation destination things, but that ain't this trip.
Earlier in the season, the Aztecs traveled to Northern Illinois for a 12:30 local kickoff. Last week it was 4 p.m. This week it's 8 p.m. here, 6 p.m. in Hawaii. Sometimes there are concerns that the long travel could affect the team's play. Coach Lewis was asked if there's a difference flying east and playing with the early body clock as opposed to going west to Hawaii and playing with the late body clock.
No, it's probably it's probably an accumulation of all the different travel that we've made, right? And I think our guys, again, of when we practice, the different times that we practice, right? It's like, you ever been in a cave, an underground cave, right? Like there's these stalagmites, I believe is what they're called, right? Like they kind of grow from the top up and they keep growing bigger and bigger and they get more and more mature with all the different experiences and the little droplets of water that continue to pile up on them, right? And so I think we have this climb individually that we've made, but the stalagmite of growth that we have occurred is one of those deals where we've gone east, now we're going west, we practice early, we practice in the afternoon, let's put the ball down and play. And then you can appreciate the beauty of each one of those organic, natural growths. So don't make too much of it. We got to be intentional when we come back. There's probably a little bit more on that, and just studying and talking to previous coaches that have been here about the impact and the effect of not necessarily going and playing there, but then the return trip home and what that does for next week, and just looking back at how that impacted teams this year and last year and previous teams here at San Diego State. So that's tomorrow's problems, but we'll handle that as we go.
Regardless of the kickoff time, the Aztecs will be facing a Hawaii team that's 6-3 on the season and 3-2 in conference. This will be the 40th meeting between the teams, with the Aztecs leading the series 26-11. There have been 2 ties, but recently it's been all Aztecs. They've won 11 of the past 13, 20 of 24, and 5 straight. But these games always seem to be close, Steve. The last 4 games and 6 out of the last 7 have been decided by 7 points or less. This game will be a huge challenge for an Aztecs defense ranked first in the Mountain West and 6th nationally. Hawaii has scored 30-plus points in each of its last 4 games, which hadn't happened since 2016. And in those games, they are averaging 393 passing yards and 503 yards of total offense, while quarterback Micah Alejandro has thrown for 300-plus yards and 3-plus touchdowns in each of those games.
He's got a unique skill set. There's no one that immediately comes to mind, but he does a really good job extending plays. He does a really good job if you give him some pretty static looks of knowing where he wants to go with the ball and getting out of his hands quickly. He can extend off script and do a really, really good job. I think he does an elite job of keeping his eyes downfield, and pressure doesn't faze him at all, right? It's probably because of the defense that he sees each and every single day. I mean, this defensive front that we're about to go against is, top 10 in the country in generating pass rush without pressure, without any sort of blitzes. So he's used to seeing people in his face and being comfortable in uncomfortable situations in the pocket and still dropping dime all over the yard. So really talented kid, really has a good handle on the system and knows where the answers are when you throw different problems at him.
Steve, this game could very well come down to a field goal, and it matches up 2 of the best field goal kickers in the country. San Diego State fans are all too familiar with Gabriel Placencia. He had his streak of 26 straight field goals end against Wyoming last week, but he's still 31 for 33 for his career. That is a 94% clip, which is currently an NCAA FBS record. On the other side is Kansei Matsuwaza. He's made 22 straight, which is now the second longest streak in the nation. He's a Lou Groza Award candidate. And Steve, what I love most about this guy is his nickname. He's known as the Tokyo Toe. But for the Aztecs, this game is all about staying focused and not looking ahead to next week when they'll host second-place Boise State at Snapdragon Stadium. And Coach Lewis always does a really good job of getting his team to not look too far ahead. But there's no ignoring the fact that the Aztecs may get a chance to play in or even host the Mountain West Conference Championship game, and if they remain undefeated in conference, will continue to be in the conversation to participate in the college football playoffs.
To me, it's what we set out to do, right? You guys might say it's unbelievable, given all being on the outside, not knowing what's happening inside, right? But we sat here long ago and, guys asked, hey, do you still believe? And yeah, I sat here and said, hey, we got a really good team that had a bad night, right? And everyone's going to go, okay, let me write that down, and we'll see how that holds true and how that ages. And I think that's aged okay, right? And so it's there's been great internal growth. There's been unbelievable connection. There's great relationships. All the things that don't show up on the stat sheet, this team continues to do at a really, really high level. So it's cool to see our guys, when we talk about, hey, those internal standards and handling our process the right way, then the opportunity is going to take care of itself as we head down range, right? We want to be so process oriented that if we handle each one of these opportunities, and they're all so important, because as you handle each one and the win streak goes further and then the next game grows bigger and more fans come out and we get this next big home opportunity, not to look ahead, and we're not, but it's just that's going to be a uniquely great moment in time that this team has created and how special it is, right? And so we got to handle this week the right way, and we have to have tunnel vision on this week. And again, all the stuff that could happen, whether it's a ranking, it's a CFP berth, it's a championship, again, like when we came back on January 20th and we stripped colors, like we set the course of where we were going to go and why we wanted to restore pride in the program, and then ultimately what that could do, and retain the old oil can and have an opportunity to win championships. And then when we do that, that's going to lead to getting to the CFP, and not just getting to the CFP, but winning games in the CFP. Like we don't just want to show up and arrive there. Like we want to be willing participants that compete at a high level, right? And so, again, our internal standards, it's not unbelievable because the guys are doing work at an elite level, and we got to continue to do that even at a better level, give a little bit more, sacrifice a little bit more, and take on a little bit more as various things continue to pop up. Like, again, to pull on the climb analogy and, going back to our guest speaker, like the higher you climb, the harder it gets. Like, there's a reason why they call it rarefied air. Like you got to be willing to do more as you go, and you got to be willing to know, like, all right, this is what we signed up for. It's going to be really, really hard, and the hard makes it meaningful, and it's to see if you really got the toughness and the fortitude to persevere and the resiliency to see it through. And I believe our team does.
But first, Steve, there is the game at hand, and Coach Lewis says the key to beating Hawaii is to control the controllables.
There's a lot of variables that we've discussed that go into it. We got to do a great job limiting their throwing game. And I just say limiting because they're going to generate some explosive plays. That's just who they are and the job that they do. And then we got to do a really good job in the red zone. I think the past couple of weeks we've had way too many opportunities that are empty possessions in the red zone where we've left points on the board.
Steve, the Aztecs have won 6 straight, which is their longest streak since starting 7-0 in 2021. And during that 6-game streak, they've outscored their opponents 176-44. Incredibly, that is a winning average of 22 points a game.
So the way the Aztecs have playing in all of their wins has been with an energetic and crisp sort of pace. The football team is, how the younger generations like to say, they are balling out. And they're going to need to keep doing that, Lewis. It's the second game I mentioned in last week's pregame podcast that will go a long way toward telling the tale of precisely where the first place Aztecs are in what Coach Lewis likes to call the climb. Now winning this one maintains the momentum. It keeps the Aztecs in the driver's seat for the conference title and maybe even convinces a few more voters to rank them among the top 25 teams in the country. I would think that an 8-1 record would tend to do that. But first things first, Lewis, and that includes just getting there. So there's this 5.5-hour flight, and then all the time getting to and from the airport. And then once you're there, no matter the time of year, you immediately feel it. The weather's different there than here in San Diego. It's subtropical, not really hot. Projected forecast in the 80s, partly cloudy, but there's a high humidity that tells you it's a different latitude. Last check, there was a 24% chance of rain on game night. And plus, there's that whole island vibe that can lure you into maybe dialing the pace back a bit, easing into a poolside lounge chair, maybe daydream of staying longer. After all, Hawaii is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. But as the players are saying, it's strictly a business trip for them, a quick there and back unless something unforeseen happens. The Aztecs, facing a team with such a high-powered offense, it likes to run up and down the field, and that means the defense is going to be put to the test. Just keeping pace with a team that likes to throw the ball all over the yard and rack up the passing yards. But right tackle Joe Bourgeon and linebacker Owen Chambliss met with the local media earlier this week, and first Chambliss was asked about the opening drive in the Wyoming game where the Pokies scored on their drive. Not to our standard, Chambliss said, but we did do a good job settling down, and we intend to get better. The sophomores anchoring the best defense in the conference and the number 2 scoring defense in the nation. Improvement may be needed when facing a QB like Aloha, number 2 in the conference in total offense, mainly on the strength of the passing yards. Players on the Aztecs defense like Chambliss will continue to need to be tackling machines. He is 8th in the conference in tackles, and through 8 games, he has 71 total, 2 sacks, and an INT. Here's a compilation of Owen talking about the one-game-at-a-time mentality of the Aztecs defense, which has faced a number of talented quarterbacks this season, and focusing and continuing to just stay laser focused on preparing for the week's opponent each and every week.
Just starting tonight with our walkthrough and doing the next thing the right way. Make sure we handle the prep the right way and not getting complacent. College football is any given Saturday, so we got to play good every week. We have a bend, don't break mentality. Obviously, our offense is going to get a first down or something's going to happen. There's going to be sudden change, and just knowing that this is our job to not let them get an inch, and that's kind of the standard we hold ourselves to starting on Tuesdays. At some point, you got to realize, maybe our passing attack isn't the best strategy against this defense, and I think you kind of get flustered back there as a quarterback not knowing what to do. We do so many different things with our back seven from disguises, and I think it makes it really hard.
So that back seven's goal, he says, is always to disguise the defense and maybe get into the head of opposing QBs, get them on the ground more. Aloha, who has lit up opposing defenses, also has 7 picks. Aztecs will need more of those if they expect to prevail. On offense, the visiting Aztecs will look to get more out of the turnovers the defense generates and sustain their drives. Senior right tackle Joe Bourgeon having the season the Aztecs hoped to get out of him last year, but were unable to after he went down in the first game and was lost for the year. They don't come much bigger than Big Joe, 6'8", 338. The Arizona transfer has started every snap in 2025, which is one of the many reasons why Lucky Sutton has recorded back-to-back career highs. Here's the wheel of Big Joe on the offense's desire to convert on those defensive turnovers, blocking for backs like Lucky Sutton, who supplied the big 50-yard knockout TD against Wyoming, and in general, just trying to give it to the front on the other side of the ball.
I mean, we got to go count with points when we get that happen, and it comes with when they get those stops, we got to go put it in because we had, I think, 6 3-and-outs, which can't happen when the defense is on the field playing like that. I think it's great. It's like the knockout punch we talk about all the time. We got to go put the game away, and that's a 10-point swing. We know our defense is going to hang in there, not let them catch up, but it's a knockout punch for sure. I think it's being relentless, having an attitude, edge, and effort about us. We talk about it all the time. We want to be relevant in the West Coast, and I think that's happening, and we want to be one of the top O-lines in the nation. Using our tempo to our advantage, once we get through 4 or 5 plays, we feel confident we're just going to keep running the ball down their throat. That's what we want to do as an offense, just run the ball, pound the rock, and go score.
The Aztecs have been making good on their threat at the season's outset to run the damn ball, not just with Sutton, but Christian Washington and lately more of Byron Cardwell Jr., all of them out of the San Diego high school football scene. Through their 4 conference games, Aztecs have rushed for an average of 222 yards while hitting that target average of 5 yards a carry. Hawaii's ground defense in the conference to date, they're allowing 142 yards a game on average. Not terrible. Their pass defense, a little more suspect. There's a stat that wonks have come up with that measures how efficient a defense is against the pass. It takes into account completion percentage, interceptions, total yards passing, TDs. As you might imagine, the Aztecs are number 1 in the conference. Hawaii is 9th. By the way, the Aztecs, despite not piling up overly impressive yards in the passing game, are ranked number 2 in offensive pass efficiency. And finally, someone had asked how much time the players expected to spend on famed Waikiki Beach. Well, they said there's no football there, so...
Not a lot. I don't really like swimming, so not a lot.
There's a lot of sharks in the ocean. I'm good.
Lewis, it says here that the Aztecs' flight will cover roughly 2,600 miles through the air. But if the Aztecs are to prevail and keep the ball out of the hands of Hawaii sophomore sensation Micah Alahado, a good part of that journey may have to be on the ground.
Steve, the Aztecs are ever so close to becoming a top 25 team. They did get votes in both the AP and the coaches poll, finishing in the top 30 of each. And you're right, if they keep winning, they will be ranked. And don't forget, if they keep winning, they'll also be in the talk, as I mentioned in my piece, for the college football playoffs, which is something that I don't think any Aztec fan thought was even a possibility at the beginning of the season.
Heck no, they have an outside shot at that. Memphis is in the driver's seat. If they keep winning as they look like they are poised to do. But as far as all the other things, if they continue to win, that should be their primary focus. And it sounded like, just from the comments over the recent weeks, that is their focus. And they're doing a pretty darn good job of doing that, and doing a pretty darn good job of remaining focused on one of those things that Mr. Lewis likes to say is a controllable. Right.
Control the controllables. Let's switch over to some hoops. What do you say? Aztecs getting off to a good start with the season last night. A big win over Long Beach State. Wasn't really competitive. Well, early on it was. Well, I'll talk more about that in a couple of minutes. Not a sellout crowd, surprising. But San Diego State has a lot of depth this season, and it looks like they could be really, really good, Steve.
Right. People got to catch that one, too, I guess, on local TV. The local independent, actually no longer independent, owned by Nexstar, KUSI TV has a deal to carry a select number of local games for the San Diego State Aztecs, and they won that one 77-45 over Long Beach State. The next one's at Idaho State, so that's on a Sunday, is it, Lewis, in the afternoon?
That's a Sunday 2 p.m. tip,
Yeah. Don't know how many more fans are going to get at that one, but we shall see. Coach Dutcher's done a heck of a job with this program since taking it over from Steve Fisher, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have coming up here is a recap of last night's game. You'll hear from Coach Dutcher as well as the Miles Bird and Miles Heidi.
Had a chance to check out that telecast a little bit, and the Aztecs were playing with great energy and great depth. They had scoring from a lot of different corners. The guards, LZ Harrington and Tay Simmons, looked very good. Great depth, man. They never seemed to let their foot off the gas at any point in that game. And as usual, tenacious D. This game was head coach Brian Dutcher's 199th career victory, and looking forward to hearing all about it.
We'll also hear from Aztecs head coach Stacie Terry-Hutson after the Aztecs started the season just this week, losing to UCLA, number 3 ranked UCLA, 77-53 in Anaheim.
Take it away, Lewis.
Steve, the key word for the Aztec men's basketball team this year is depth. Aztecs are 1-0 after a resounding 77-45 season-opening win over Long Beach State at Viejas Arena. Surprisingly, not a sellout, with an announced crowd of 11,644. Just how deep are the Aztecs? Well, 2 true freshmen, LZ Harrington and Tay Simmons, each scored in double figures. Harrington tied for a team high of 13 points, and Simmons scored 10. The Aztecs played primarily a 9-man rotation, and that was without Magoon Guath, who should be cleared to practice later this week, and Reese Dixon-Waters, who had to sit out his much-anticipated return after a year off for injury due to a scratched cornea. Dutcher said after the game he hopes Dixon-Waters doesn't miss much time. As for the depth I was talking about, Dutcher said that one of the Aztecs' key additions this season, San Jose transfer Latrell Davis, may have to redshirt because they just don't have any room for him to play this season. The game was a slugfest for the Aztecs for the first 13 minutes, as Long Beach State, coached by former Aztecs assistant coach Chris Acker, played Aztecs-like defense. It was 20-20 before the Aztecs pulled away, going on a 20-5 run to end the first half, and led at halftime 40-25. Miles Bird was fantastic in the first half, scoring 11 points on 4 of 6 shooting, including 3 of 4 from 3. He ended the game with 13 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. The Long Beach players, well, they had a hard time holding on to the ball all night as the Aztecs defense forced 21 turnovers, including 11 steals. The Aztecs held the Beach to 32% shooting and just 21% from 3. The Aztecs, on the other hand, shot the ball extremely well, finishing at 43%, and a red-hot 48% from the three-point range, hitting 14 of 19. Junior Miles Heidi was terrific, scoring 10 points on 4 of 4 shooting, swishing 2 free throws, a far cry from last year when Heidi shot just 31% from the line, if you'll recall. He also pulled down 5 rebounds and had 2 assists and 2 steals. Taj DeGorfield got the start at point guard and finished with 10 points, but got into some early foul trouble with 3 fouls in just 5 minutes of playing time. Here's some reaction from Coach Brian Dutcher and the Miles, Bird and Heidi, after the game.
So I have a deep team, but without Reese today, it looked like it wasn't going to be deep enough. Taj got in foul trouble, BJ got in foul trouble. Now I got Sean out there tired in the first half because he had to go so long without a break. And so I think with Reese, we'll have enough depth, but I haven't made my mind up on LZ yet. I mean on Latrell yet about using him or not using him. So, but a good effort, good first effort, forced turnovers, played all the way to the end. That's what we didn't do a year ago. They did what they wanted to do when we got a lead in the second half, and that didn't work out so well. So I want to make sure they did what I wanted them to do for 40 minutes. We came closer to that.
Yeah, I think we just kind of play similar. So, obviously, scouting-wise, we understand what they like to do, and it's really similar to what we like to do. So, all week it felt like we was just practicing all summer, practicing ourselves. So, we were really familiar with the game plan just because we're very familiar with how they play. Keep working, putting in every single day. Don't be content with the first win of the year. Sky's the limit for this team, like I've been saying all summer long. We can't get unlevel-headed just because we had one good win at the crib. So, I think just staying focused, coming in, being everyday guys. I think sky's the limit. You got to keep putting our work in.
I would say, we picked up 94 feet today. That's what we always do here. So being able to pressure them and kind of get them on their toes are pretty, they're very the guards were very sped up. So we were able to kind of force some turnovers and force just pressure, which to kind of get them out of their offense and put the shot clock down low so they don't really get a very good shot.
Steve, the Aztecs play just 2 more times before the Players Era tournament in Las Vegas, where they'll face highly ranked Michigan and a very talented Oregon squad. They're back on the court Sunday afternoon for a 2 p.m. tip against Idaho State at Viejas Arena.
Stacie, thanks for spending time. So last year I was here and you had a really veteran team, and that team really took you really far. This year, not many older people coming back. You got a lot of newcomers. Talk about the difference preparing for last season and prepping for this year.
We have a couple kids returning that had some experience, but like you said, we have a lot of newcomers. So trying to figure out how it's going to look this year has been obviously the challenge in the summer, but it's been really fun reimagining who we are and who we could be. So looking forward to seeing a new brand of, I think, Aztec basketball as far as us trying to play with a little bit more pace, playing with more space on the floor, shooting more threes. That's been the goal. We've been excited about our numbers offensively. They've been raising over the last couple years, and last year was a record-setting year as far as the offense goes for us. But I'm not happy with that. I want to continue to improve and see if we can put some more numbers on that side of the ball.
And some newcomers coming in, Division II Player of the Year. Talk about the transfers and some of the new players coming in and why you think they'll be so successful for you this year.
We've got some great pieces, and we've had a lot of opportunity to recruit some highly touted young ladies, but it's all about fit. And we've had a lot of interest of people wanting to come play with us at San Diego State just because of the success that we've had, and I think also the people that we have. Our girls are just our best selling point and our best recruiting point. So a lot of these young women actually came from the Mountain West and wanted to be a part of what we were doing at San Diego State. So like I said, we're still trying to figure it out what we're going to look like. That's what these preseason scrimmages are for before these games really get going. And then we're throwing them to the fire. We're starting with UCLA on November 3rd, and it's going to be a great test for us to kind of see where we are. But we have a chance to be very good. We're very talented, but we're very young.
Picked to finish second. I was talking to Nat earlier, and she says last year picked to finish fifth. That bothered her, and now you're getting a little more recognition this year with obviously you're just preseason polls. But does that make a difference for you as far as a coach to see some of that recognition?
I love it, and it's a compliment that people are recognizing the hard work that our young girls are putting in. But for me, it really doesn't mean much. There's a lot of things that can happen between now and the end of March. And I actually, to be honest, I like being the hunter versus the hunted. So we're going to try to keep that same underdog and mentality as we approach each day of practice and games, just making sure that we're not happy with what we did last year, that we're still trying to get better and take it even further.
So it ended, you had the triple overtime win, and I was telling them it seemed like either team neither wanted to win or wanted to lose. It seemed like it would never end. Yeah. And then you went to LSU. Talk about what that LSU experience did for your team. They got to see a really great team up close and personal. Did it help them kind of see what more work they have to do to get to that point?
I think so. I mean, there was a big difference between, the athleticism and how LSU was able to play. So I think that, obviously it hurt losing the way we did, but also, okay, we got a lot of work to do. So they came back really hungry in the offseason in the summer to get better and improve their individual games, and I think that's been a huge advantage for us. Also playing in that environment, I think, was beneficial for us. Like when we go to UCLA, play UCLA at the Honda Center, and then when we step into some of the really amazing arenas here in the Mountain West, when we go to Boise, when we go to New Mexico, when we go to Wyoming, UNLV, they have a home crowd advantage. So we'll be, I think, a little prepared to play in those situations, and hopefully will help us, sneak a win. And you have UCLA, you also have Penn State. How tough is how important is it for you against those Power Four conferences to, you could win those games or just a good showing? What are you thinking? We're just trying to get better, and hopefully it equals a win, but we're just trying to get better. And I thought playing in Cancun last year when we played Wisconsin and Providence really helped us prepare us for Mountain West. So that's really the goal is we want to take a step up, so you gotta play the best to be the best, and that's was the mentality as far as scheduling as hard as we did. So I think, it might not be the same non-conference as we had last year, but I think we're going to be competitive, and I think we're going to grow a lot from it. Talk a little bit about those 11 a.m. games where the school kids get to come in and watch you play. That's sort of an original idea. I haven't heard that other schools doing that. How did that come about? And I know you guys did it last year, and you're doing it again this year. What makes that so important? Well, I think I think it's community outreach. I think it's important for the university, not just the basketball program, but the university, to invite these young kids, and these young Aztecs grow up wanting to be enrolled in San Diego State. So I think it's a great bridge between athletics and the academic side, just showing how great San Diego State is. And it's a great environment for our student athletes. It's normally our highest attended games. It's loud. We can kind of create those environments, so they'll get used to playing in front of them. And I think it's a great compliment to our young ladies. They deserve to play in front of a packed house, and I think it's one way that we could do it a couple times a year. Nice for them. It must be nice for them to see the younger kids thinking back where they were at that point and looking ahead to perhaps that's, they could be there too. So that's hopefully something that could do with the kids that go to those games. It's all about the community, and as much as we can bring the San Diego State community together, I think it's great for our program and the university. And how good can this team be this year? You're younger, but you're very talented. We could be very good, but I think there's going to be some peaks and valleys. And I think one of the superpowers we had last year is even when we didn't play well, we were able to find a way to win. So that still is a question mark for me, is how will adversity affect this team because of our lack of experience. But I'm hoping that the talent will override that, because we are very talented. So I'm anxious to see how this plays out. All right, well, good luck to you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, Lewis, thanks for bringing us that from Las Vegas. The first piece of adversity the Aztecs faced was, of course, that fall to a nationally ranked UCLA program in Anaheim. It was a game that Coach liked the fight of the players in, but in the end, after keeping them within striking distance, got pulled away from. Looking forward to seeing the Aztecs host Cal State San Marcos. It's their home opener on Saturday. It's at 3 p.m., and they will hoist the banner from last year's epic Mountain West Championship before the game at 3 p.m. tip.
Gotta love unfurling banners, Steve. There's nothing better than that for fans when they see the banner unfurled in the arena.
More and more getting raised every year. Starting to look pretty full up there, Hutson. That's a really good feeling when you go in there. Before we sign off, one little note from the Aztecs women's soccer program. They are trying to see if they can make it to the NCAAs by winning the championship, but first have to get past number 1 seed Boise State tonight. They're hosting that championship at Boise State. The game gets underway at 6 p.m. Pacific time. The Aztecs are the number 4 seed and coming off a game on Sunday night, or a matches, I should say, where they shut out the 5th seed, Colorado State, and that was the 7th shutout of the season for San Diego State. And speaking of shutouts, how about we shut out this episode of Aztecs All In? Hey, Lewis?
Yeah, let's do it. Good luck to the Aztec women's soccer team, and that will do it for this edition of Aztecs All In. Thanks for giving us a listen. We will be back with you late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, after the Hawaii game, which is an 8 p.m. kickoff. Yes, sir. Please follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also drop us a line, aztecsallin@gmail.com, or follow us on the X, Aztecs_all_in. So until next time, for Steve Perez, I'm Louis Wiener. See you soon.